right. Now, I've been sitting on this one for a while, right? And I got this from a thread that I still have open, right? Because I'm not showing the username, but it is a thread that has some really interesting takes in it, which I'll probably cover more on as well. Just because there is a lot of cope going on when it comes to Mortal Kombat 1, right? It's okay to be a massive Mortal Kombat fan, but you have to understand and realize that there are some major issues, not just with the game, but also the way that the game is approached from the developer and the publisher. Anyway, so one of these comments was this little gem right here. Right, he goes, only cowards buy fighting games for the single player content. The mechanics of this game are extremely well polished, especially if you compare them to MK11. Well, anyway. There's an infinite number of different teams, specific setups, combo routes, and so on and so, yeah. The game has content when it comes to the actual gameplay. And yet, lots of love hearts, because he apparently loves people a lot, choose to complain because all you want to is to smash D2 versus stupid bots so you can unlock some pointless skins because you're too afraid to play online. GTFO with that. More love hearts, he's loving people in this chat. And better go play some boomer mobile game. I don't think boomers brought in mobile gaming. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Who gives a shit, right? The interesting part about this is that this sentiment is mirrored by a lot of people, right? I did a video about the Tekken situation where somebody was literally bullied off Twitter or X because they just had a take and saying, listen, if you just don't want to do one fight, you can. There's a lot of reasons why somebody might only do one fight. But it seems the consensus is that, well, you know, you must play the way that I deem you to play. Right? And of course, now we get wonderful stuff like this. Right? For most of fighting games' existence, we didn't have online play. Right? I'd have to check the specific number, but if you go all the way back when fighting games first came out, none of these games had online play. The only time you're able to play these games against anyone was against your friends, or of course in the arcade, because the arcade cost you money continually to play until they brought fighting games to the home market, all the way back to like the Sega Master System. And then you just did it one single purchase. But again, you couldn't play those games online because we didn't have the internet back then, and you could only play with your friends. Okay? And so it seemed like when we got into, like if you're looking at Mortal Kombat stuff, when we got into the 3D era, they started to really sort of capitalize on that. I know Total MK was talking about this yesterday in chat. You know, how that by coming to the home market, they were able to expand what it meant to make a Mortal Kombat game, adding things like the crypt, decent sort of story thing, even though it's nowhere near as good as Deceptions. And obviously with the crypt, the ability to unlock, you know, skins, like alternate skins and all sorts of stuff, artwork, you know. So they started going all out. They started creating a precedence for what should be in a fighting game outside of the standard arcade tower, PvP mode, and that's it. But we didn't have online to play, right? So they had to make sure that the game was awesome. They had to make sure that the game was top quality, okay? And that there were some things that you could unlock because there was no reliance on DLC or any sort of post-launch content. So this is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard, okay? This is the entitlement of the PvP gamer. Someone that thinks that the only way that these games should be enjoyed is by playing online. Well, what if you can't play online? Right? For some people, it might be too anxiety-inducing. Some people, they just simply don't like the modes. I've got my cats trying to like eat everything. What's the matter with you? We feed you, right? He's like, look at it, look at this. Right, look at it. Where is he? There. Clown. Yes, that's right. Now you're on the internet again, twice in one day. Just deal with that, right? So this is He's got a big booty. It's just a big ass. He's banging into everything. Look, cats are supposed to be graceful, right? Huh? Aren't you supposed to be graceful? Anyway, so like, let's try to thought. So, gameplay had to be super solid. It had to be locked down to make sure that people were not going to just drop it, because the gameplay back then, right, was king, right? You had to make it awesome to keep people entertained, because they didn't have story modes as such back then. You might have an arcade ending, but we had no story mode. We didn't really have like sort of other mini games, that sort of stuff. The first time we actually got some kind of semblance to a mini game when it came to a fighting game was Pocket Fighter or Gem Fighter, right? Where they actually took fighting game characters and created a whole other game using them using a Tetris style block drop mechanic. That's one of the first times I actually like heard of that. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. That's really different, right? Actually, no, hang on. Which one's the one that they actually fight each other? No, Gem Fighter's the drop. Pocket Fighter is right. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Right. The point is though, is that like they took fighting game characters, they put it in another game mode, and so that way when the blocks drop, they do special moves and supers and all sorts of stuff like that. It was actually awesome. It's a fantastic game. It really is. But the problem with that, now I've got to look up Pocket Fighter now. This is like bacon my noodle. Let me see. Right. Let's see. Because there we go. Was it Capcom? Yeah, it was a Capcom, man. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, so it was just the little characters anyway. Yeah, that's why. Because it's using the same style of characters. Pocket Fighter is using the same style. Oh, did they? Hang on. No, am I correct? Maybe I am correct. Oh, no, I'm not correct. No, Pocket Fighter is the one fighting. Super Gem Fighter is that. So Super Gem Fighter is the name, the Japanese name they called for it, where it would drop things like gems and stuff, and you could smack them and gems pop out. I'm thinking of Super Puzzle Fighter, right? Super Puzzle Fighter. This is what I'm saying. This is what happens. All this confusion. It's too much greatness back in the day. I tell you what. Back in the day, on the beaches of Capcom, it was a time of peace. Anyway, moving on. So this is a crap take, and the reason why it's a crap take is because fighting games, especially Mortal Kombat games, really paved the way for extra content to enjoy outside of the normal fighting. And as time goes on, the prices go up, right? And people expect more for their dollar. And so therefore, you get used to a standard, you're used to a price point with that standard, and so you expect the same in return. Okay? Remember, we keep them in business, not the other way around. Alright? They put out crap, we don't buy crap, they go under. It's as simple as that. It's the most basic of all transactions. If you put out something great, we'll buy great. And there are people out there right now that are buying Tekken 8 that haven't played a Tekken game for like 10, 15 years, if not longer. There are people out there buying Tekken 8 because they've never played a Tekken game, probably never even played a fighting game before. But because the hype around it is so good, and the quality of the product is so good, then people are investing in it. And Tekken 8 is a great example, along with something like Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, where there is so much content. But this is a cope. This is what happens when the developer and the company put out a subpar product with not much to do, especially in comparison to what it previously has had. Now, I hated MK11, but what keeps people engaged in MK11 is a lot of the grind. It's a lot of the time spent on, sitting in the towers of time to grind up to get like specific gear pieces, summoning towers to get those specific gear pieces, grinding through the crypt to get specific gear pieces and whatnot. It's all in there, which I don't agree with, by the way. I don't agree with like just arbitrary grind, RNG loot boxing type mechanics, which is exactly what the crypt was. Massive RNG loot box, because you could reset it. You couldn't target specific stuff. But regardless, it still had stuff to do if you like that kind of content, right? I thought MK10 was quite light on content actually in comparison to MK9. But the 3D era, despite it wasn't my favorite era either, they really went out. They tried to make it so that you had a lot that you could do. And that if you couldn't play online, what else is there? Because not everyone likes to play online. With Tekken 8 Super Ghost Battle and just standard Ghost Battle modes, where you can fight people's ghosts, or you can fight the ghosts in the Super Battle or Super Ghost Battle area, it gives you content that you can do. It allows you to bridge the gap between fighting online and fighting offline by fighting other people's, like, essentially their avatars, their ghosts of the character that they have used, formulated together the way that they play, and hopefully coming to that conclusion that, yeah, this feels like you're playing them. Sometimes it works, sometimes not so much, but it's still content. It's still something that you can do that doesn't require online. And now, because you can get into the Tekken Lounge, you know, you get to be online without actually fighting online. You've also got the story mode. Every single character's got their own little, you know, short story / you know, arcade ending for them as well. There's so much in the game, as well as, of course, unlocking all the customizations. There's tons to do, right? And so this is just all about themselves. They don't actually care about whether or not other people are happy with the game and enjoying the game that they want to play, or the way they want to enjoy the game for them. I've got the other cat here as well. What's going on, baby? Right, they want to be famous. So that's the problem, is that, like, I see this a lot. I've been seeing it a lot for a while now, this attitude. I've had it myself against me. I see it against other people. That, well, you know, you have got to play the way that we think you should play, otherwise you're crap, or you're dog shit, or whatever, stuff like that. Like, people, I gotta do a react video, and it's gonna be perfect, right? It's exactly what I've been saying for the longest time, right? And this is coming from someone that's highly successful, okay? Yeah, baby. So, this is the problem, is that this attitude permeates, I mean, it permeates through a lot of, like, games out there as well, including even single-player games where, you know, people think that, well, if you're not doing this the most optimal way, then somehow you may not be having fun. If you're not playing online, then what are you doing? Like, how can you enjoy yourself? Well, that's because there's so much else in a game that you can enjoy. Right? When I was having a conversation with someone the other week, you know, simply saying that I used to play Deception all the time when I was younger, right? Because it had so much content to do. It had conquest mode. That in itself would just burn up hours, days, weeks, because you were trying to figure out all the secrets. You know, we didn't have access like we do now for the flow of information and the speed of it. So a lot of the time we were waiting to see whether or not people would discover stuff, and that could take days or weeks to figure out stuff. It was amazing time. And what that did is it stretched out the game, because then information wasn't coming out as fast as it is now. And so that way we're like, you know, we're trying to see if we can figure out stuff first, and then we can post it online, like me and my friend were trying to do, or just discover things. It was just awesome. It's a great time. Never played Deception online. Not once. Never played Armageddon online. Not once. Right? And yet, despite the fact that I wasn't a big fan of the 3D era, I had so much to do. You could create your own characters. You could play through the arcade to get to the story mode. You could do the actual conquest mode depending on which game you were playing. And then, of course, you've also got the mini games in there as well. Now, for back then, that was a lot. You got to understand, that's a lot of content for back when they came out. Okay, and it kept a lot of people interested. I kind of wish, though, that they brought the mini games from Deception into Armageddon, so they built on top of it, rather than just taking out and then replacing it. Again, there seems to be an Ed Boon philosophy of trying to, like, restructure the entire game every time they bring out a new game. It's got to stop. Just keep adding to it. Create the legacy, add to it. And that way, people that only care about online gaming, they can still get their online fix. All the people that play offline could get their offline fix. And then both camps are happy. Okay? Because the reality is, though, is that not a lot of people do like to play fighting games online. There's a lot of people I know on my Discord that just play stuff offline, right? That they're just making, like, different character skins and you know, just playing through the story or playing against the ghosts and things like that. And again, like, you'd argue that's a hybrid online mode, but it's not. It's still offline content, right? So, he's trying to eat reptile. Stop it. Get some help. So, well, I want to know what you guys think, because, like, this is just crappy take, right? And to talk about the mechanics, like I played some MK11 on stream the other day, right? And I had it was actually pretty good. And I actually felt that it was more of a Mortal Kombat game than what we got with MK1. MK1 is flying around all the screen and stuff, bouncing everywhere, very lightweight characters, and that's because this game was supposed to be Injustice 3. Okay? It was supposed to be Injustice 3. Okay? And they switched development paths. They made a Mortal Kombat game because they knew A, it would sell more, and B, there's superhero fatigue. Nobody gives a shit about superheroes anymore. Right? Thank you, Marvel and DC, for ruining that. And that's why we've got the product that we do now. Very underwhelming, very undercooked. And this sort of dumbass take is the reason why people in the fighting game community just go, look, you know, we just want to play our game. We want to play it the way we want to play and enjoy the content, you know, that doesn't have to necessarily be online. If you want to play online, off you go. If you don't, here's a bunch of stuff that you can do. Okay? And, you know, people, people just don't like it when you want to do something with the product that you paid for. Isn't that amazing? Right? Last time I checked, I didn't recall, you know, that these very people, okay, were paying for everyone else's game and saying, by the way, when I pay for this game for you, you've got to play the way I determined. If you don't, there's a massive problem. Anyway, guys, catch you next time.